Ken Chang, thanks for joining us. Microsoft Advertising, is it an agency, an ad platform, a media owner, or all of the above?
Great question. What is Microsoft Advertising? I think that a lot of people think that we're all three, that we are an agency, an ad platform, and a media owner. But I'd say traditionally we are definitely the first two. So we are a creative agency in that we have an internal creative team that helps and assists brands and agencies to communicate their message and connect with consumers. So we have a great team in the US and in the UK who actually create some really robust creative execution. We are an ad platform in that we have MSN and Windows Live as what I like to say is kind of foundations for brands to communicate their message to consumers. Are we a media owner? So traditionally Microsoft, I would classify us as a content platform in that we aggregate content from different companies. So in the US we have relationships with Fox Sports, with Hearst Publishing, et cetera. But as we move into this strategy of partnering with local media companies, I think through our partnerships we become media owners. So in Singapore we have 2,000 hours of MediaCorp video that is exclusive to us. Do we own it? Not necessarily, but do we have exclusive rights to it? Yes.
Microsoft in the past has been accused of being too proprietary, but these days brands want a best-in-breed digital marketing solution. How can Microsoft Advertising help them achieve that?
So I think that we haven't necessarily been too proprietary as much as we've been too prescriptive. And so I think that the way that we're trying to help brands today is actually just by listening, right? So it's more about being collaborative than prescriptive. And so we can help take a brand's message and integrate it with paid and social media in order for them to communicate their message across. And so a lot of people would say, you know, we compete with social media platforms, and there are others who say that we are a social media platform, and I'd say we aren't. Like Windows Live isn't a social media platform, it's actually a piece of software that helps organize people's life. But Microsoft ad platforms can complement social media, right? So we have reach mechanisms and brand mechanisms that will lead to social media, right, and help a brand achieve their ultimate goals.
In June, Microsoft released a report completed in conjunction with MEC and Mindshare about online user trends. What were some of the key findings?
Internet usage study that we did in partnership with MEC and Mindshare was a study that was conducted in 11 countries. In Asia, it was Japan, China, and India. 7,000 or so participants aged between 16 and 54. And so I think the most interesting bit that we got out of that is that we're seeing much more planned activity on the internet, so less spontaneous browsing or surfing now. So globally, 79% of the respondents are actually planning their activity on the internet. So they have a goal in mind before they actually go and surf. In Asia, 89% in Japan are seeing that. In China, it's 76%, in India, 72%. So definitely at the higher end of the global behavior. Also, communication continues to be the #1 activity on the internet. So about 32% of the respondents say that communication is their main focus of going on the internet, with I think 22% saying information seeking, so going out and trying to gather information through search engines or what have you. So I think the key points of this study was actually understanding the behavior of consumers on the internet, on understanding the impact or the effect that that has on brand advertising, and then giving us insights to help brands better plan their campaigns and better plan how they communicate and connect with consumers.
What do you think the implications of those findings are for brands and agencies?
It's more about targeting where consumers go on a more consistent basis, rather than just kind of doing these broad marketing campaigns, you know, across multiple sites. Right? So it's how can we assist brands in getting their message across in highly trafficked parts of our site, or to key demos or key demos or regions within the Microsoft geography.
Sin MSN launched in April last year as a local portal for Singapore. To what do you attribute its success?
So I think at the core it's people. Right? It's the partnership that we have in MediaCorp. It's the teams that we have across editorial and sales who recreated the MSN site in Singapore. It's definitely the consumers. So we have a very hyper-local feel to the site. So consumers like that. And so they've come to the site in droves. I think we have 1.7 million or so unique users who came to the site in July of this year, making us the #1 portal in Singapore. And each of the channels, so entertainment, lifestyle, video, are #1 by far in their categories. And then thirdly, and I think most importantly, it's the belief that the brands and the agencies have in the reach and the relevancy of CineMSN to the market.
Is hyperlocal content and ads the biggest opportunity for digital advertising?
Hyperlocal is definitely important, but if we talk about the future of advertising, right, and what are the key things to look at, content being hyperlocal or video content, I think is going to be incredibly important, especially in Southeast Asia. Video, I think, online video is going to be the natural extension of offline, and where across Southeast Asia, 55 to 60% of total AdX goes to TV. You'll see more brands naturally gravitate towards online video, and so I think that's going to be a key focus going forward. Mobile, of course, but I think mobile less about the ad dollars, more about the engagement and the users, which will lead to ad dollars at some point. You know, since the early 90s, people have said mobile advertising is going to be the next wave, and no one's seen it yet. So I think it is an audience grab right now, you know, especially if you look at Indonesia, where they have 32 million people on the internet, but 190 million mobile subscriptions. And I think social. I mean, social is exploding across Asia, especially in Southeast Asia, where Facebook has 93 million users across the 6 markets, where 5 years ago they had nothing. Right? So I think all those things put together, all those 3 things put together, are really going to be the future for the next at least 5 or so years of advertising.
Android is storming the mobile market. How is Microsoft Advertising planning to compete in mobile?
So I think there are 2 answers to that from a Microsoft perspective. One is Microsoft as a creator of mobile operating system technology. And so in Singapore, 1 out of 3 smartphones that are sold are iPhones. Globally, I think there are 400,000 or so activations on Android each day. And we've just come into the market in the past 9 months with Windows Phone 7. And then the new instantiation of that operating system, which is the Mango release, which is coming out shortly. So I think from a technology perspective, we are, I don't want to say late to the game, but we've definitely missed a cycle or 2 in terms of the mobile operating system development cycle. And so that puts us behind the gun a little bit, but it also lets us look at mobile usage patterns, look at web usage patterns, and be able to integrate things into the phone that other operating systems don't necessarily do. So the new phone is much more of a social phone. It's much more intuitive. We integrate Twitter, Facebook feeds, LinkedIn feeds into the tiles of Windows Phone 7. So I think from an operating system standpoint, we're doing things from a technology perspective and from a natural user interface perspective, which are going to be very, very interesting. Couple that with our partnership with Nokia, especially with their reach into the mobile phone population, especially the smartphone population in Southeast Asia, is going to be very, very interesting for us. And so then the second pivot of that question, or the second answer from a Microsoft standpoint, would be in terms of an advertising perspective. I think our focus is to offer rich content experiences across different devices, be it iPhone, iPad, Android, BlackBerry, Windows Phone 7. So we are looking to be operating system agnostic, or device agnostic, if you will. And it's really about how can we, through all these different mediums and through these different devices, create and deliver the most engaging consumer content experience possible and advertising experience.
Ken, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.